everyone. My name is Olivia, and welcome to the third presentation for GlassBuild Connect. I'm here with Brian Ludwig, who is the Northeast Territory Sales Manager for Quannex. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Glad to be here.
Good. Well, thank you for joining us today, Brian. We are going to talk about screens and whether a company would want to outsource the production of their screens and why they might want to do that. So I know that you have a new plant in your territory up and running for screens. So this is kind of a timely time to talk about all of this. But why don't we start with going through some of the common issues that your customers face when they are producing their own screens in-house?
I mean, obviously, one of the first things we always like to talk about is labor. Labor crunches on no matter what you're doing. So that's driving, the ability to have to, move people around and really strain all the other processes. And so when you're looking at screens, one of the critical things is it's an essential part of the window as far as completing it, but not essential as far as performance. Okay, you're not going to send a window out to somebody without a screen. And so at the end of the day, the screen can sometimes drive how much production you can get out or whether or not you're able to complete an order. And that puts an awful lot of strain on a window manufacturer and any of the technology. And in order to make that work even better, you've got to worry about the quality, output, all those things start lining up. Sometimes it can fall solely on the screen department. And so what we've been able to do with our outsourcing program is we've been able to take all those processes and bring them into what we do well and take that burden off of window manufacturers.
Great. And what does it mean to actually outsource your screens production? Or at least what does it mean to you?
Right, so basically it just means taking everything from every little bit of raw material that you need to make a screen, all the machinery that's required to punch it, cut it, screen it, and all the labor that it takes to operate those machines and do all those processes. Outsourcing means we're taking all of that burden, all of that inventory, all of that outlay you have as a manufacturer. We're taking that and we're taking on that burden and doing it in our factory, doing that for you. So what you end up with is just the finished product that completes your window that can go out the door and at the rate that you need it.
That sounds great. So how can you talk through a little bit how screens outsourcing could help me if I'm struggling in regards to finding the labor that I need to make the screens in-house?
Well, I mean, I think that, everybody's struggling to find that labor market that can come in, be very effective, be on time, learn the processes. And when you have this idea of the screen department and everything that goes into it, thing is you've got to now find all those same people. You've got them in frame, you've got them in IG if you're making your own IG, you've got all those technical resources and all those experienced people. You need that same amount of people in the screen area. And sometimes that becomes very difficult. And quite frankly, it becomes sometimes the forgotten child of the situation. Okay, even though it's an essential piece, it's still some of the last things that are thought of. And I see a lot of new people coming into that department, and that's where it can really just exacerbate your problems. And so, outsourcing is going to take that away. And what it's going to allow you to do now is constrain your workforce and really put them back into what's important and utilize those resources where you need them, both in just the direct manufacturing of the windows and IG, if you have. So it can make a big difference.
All right, so let's talk about how much I can actually save if I do outsource my screens. What kind of capital expenditures can I avoid by making the move to outsourcing?
Well, there's really many ways in which your company is going to benefit. Obviously, first is those capital expenditures. You're not going to have to buy all the updated equipment, all the new things that it's going to take to be competitive in the quality production age that we're in now. So that's the first thing. So capital expenditures are going to make a big deal. But also there's another piece that I think we really want to hit on that I think helps the everyday business, which is cash flow. You're buying all that material, frame, screen, corner keys, spline, latches, pins, clips, plungers. All those things have to be sitting in your warehouse ready to be assembled when the orders come in, let alone whatever you feel your cost per square foot is of manufacturing space. All of that comes back to your bottom line. And then one of the best things is the windows you're making are going to be orders that have been placed and you're making for production. Well, guess what? When you're with us, you're not paying for those screens until 30 days after they go in the window. So now you're outsourcing something that's matching up with how you get paid, which is probably how you're getting paid as well on your windows.
Mm-hmm.
So it can make a huge impact on cash flow as well as capital expenditures. So there's really a few things that it can really change the books really well for.
Great. So it sounds like a smart move. Is there any reason companies would be hesitant to outsource? And can you kind of walk through some of those reasons?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think anybody's going to say is, I don't want to lose the control. I want to make sure I can control my production. Well, the funny part about it is, I kind of, from my experience, it's almost an illusion of control in a sense, because really what I see more often than not is, you've ever heard the term, the tail wagging the dog. The screen department sometimes can really cause more havoc. And so you think you're losing control by taking it, but really what you're doing is you're actually putting a fine tuning knob on your ability to manufacture and go with the marketplace and the demand, because we're going to be able to match the highs and lows of your production and meet anything that you throw at us, whereas you are typically nowadays constrained by labor and space currently. So that could really keep you in a box. So everybody thinks, oh geez, letting it out of my building is a problem. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It gives you way more control, do more things, to go faster, to increase capacity. Those are really critical when you're trying to grow your business.
Great. So that's great that you wouldn't necessarily lose control. You're actually gaining more control by outsourcing. Can you walk through some of the quality and inventory control measures that are in place with Quanex to alleviate those concerns?
Yeah, so right now, some of the biggest things, obviously size, squareness of the product, hourglass, miter gaps, how the screen cloth lays, all those things, you've got to want processes to control that. And just like you do in any department in your manufacturing, because it's all we do, that's all our operators and everybody and all the machinery, that's all it's focused on. And we have very strict and tight controls on those. And sometimes, what they say is repetition is the way to make sure that you do better. Well, guess what? We're making 125,000 screens a day. So repetition of all of these processes and all these tight quality controls is going to ensure that you're getting that product ready to go in your window and satisfactory to your customer in the highest quality.
Great. Now tell me a little bit about the R&D process for Quanex and how customers who outsource their screens to you can benefit from it.
Right. Well, currently, most companies, and I don't say this for all, but I would say most in the realm that I'm dealing with, they don't necessarily have a specific dedicated engineering department that can say, hey, we're bringing out a new window. Let's get the engineering group on here and let's make this new screen and let's develop it and test it and do all that. Or, hey, we keep getting complaints. We've got a million customer complaints on this one window screen and nobody likes it. We're having trouble with it. What do? You don't have those resources. With Quanex, we have that all in-house. We've got our own engineering department. We can either redesign a current screen that's giving you trouble, or we can design a new screen for a new window line and guarantee that you're able to get the best performance out of that, and we do it for you. And we give you a sample if it's in the window, and all of that gets taken off your plate so you can worry about what's most important to your business.
Great. So why would you say now could be the right time to outsource? I know that a lot of organizations are struggling right now with the pandemic and what that meant for their labor or, their bottom line. If I am considering outsourcing my screens, what do I stand to lose if I don't do it right now?
Well, if you don't do it, you're definitely taking a chance that your business could be slowed down or it could have increased struggles. Once again, the labor is going to be the critical part. You've got to have that labor problem. But also, too, there's an interesting idea also going on within the industry that you have to look at. And sometimes it's an either or situation. You're going to outsource one thing. Maybe it should be screens versus insulated glass. Because I'll tell you what, right now, a lot more companies are bringing glass in-house because that's truly the constraint right now in the industry is the insulated glass market. If you can get glass and make it yourself, that truly can drive production and how much you can put out. versus waiting on an outsourced IG manufacturer. So for me, it's also about that. If you were to outsource screens, which right now we're building plants. Like I said, we're putting one in Allentown, so our capacity is only increasing. We're not worried about running out of that capacity for our customers. But if you were to outsource screens, now you'd be able to probably maybe even bring that IG in-house and gain you a lot more control over the critical pieces of your business versus the screens that could be slowing you down. So I think now is the time to exercise that and to get involved in that, because it really could make the difference between getting through this pandemic and growing or letting it suck you under.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if I'm interested in outsourcing my screens with Quannex, who should I get in touch with? Are you the guy?
I am the guy. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear from anybody. And you can contact me by email. My email is brian.ludwig@quannex.com. And my last name is Ludwig. So once again, that's brian.ludwig@quannex.com. And you can always call me on my cell as well, which is 585-491-2874. And I'll be glad to walk you through the process and talk with anybody about it.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Brian.
Appreciate it.